I have been tending this garden for 53 years, and in those 53 years the garden has never once complained about the season it was in. The trees do not mourn their leaves in autumn, the soil does not grieve the cold of winter, and the first blossom of spring does not waste its brief, extraordinary moment wishing it were something more permanent. Only people do that. Only people spend their summers wishing they were still in spring. Only people waste their autumn mourning a summer that is already gone. I am 86 years old, and today I want to talk to you about the seasons of your life, and the costly, heartbreaking mistake of spending any one of them fighting the season you are actually in. A human life, if you are fortunate enough to live it fully, moves through 4 great seasons. Spring is your youth, the 20s and younger. Everything is new. Energy is limitless. The world feels endlessly wide. This is the season of exploration, of mistakes made cheaply enough to recover from, of identity forming like a river finding its first course. Summer is your 30s and early 40s. This is the building season, the season of ambition made real, of relationships deepened, of the first real consequences of your choices arriving at your door. Summer is demanding, but summer is where the real fruit begins to grow. Autumn is your mid-40s through your 60s. This is the season most people dread, the hair changing color, the mirror telling a story you did not ask it to tell. But autumn is the most beautiful season in the garden. It is the season of harvest, of wisdom earned, not borrowed, of knowing exactly who you are and finally, caring very little about who is watching. And winter comes for us all, but winter is not emptiness. It is stillness. It is the season of legacy, of looking back at what you grew and knowing it will outlast the frost. Every season has a gift, but that gift has a deadline. And I want to tell you about my friend Richard, because Richard almost missed the gift of his entire autumn. Richard was a handsome young man, not in a vain way, but in the way that made rooms turn, that made people listen when he spoke. He had an easy confidence in his youth that came not from arrogance, but from genuine aliveness. In his 20s, Richard moved through the world like a man who belonged in it completely, and then his 30s arrived, then his 40s, and Richard could not accept it. He began to exercise obsessively, not for his health, but to look the way he did at 25. He dressed the way he had dressed 15 years earlier, not out of style, but out of denial. He pursued friendships with people 20 years younger than himself, not because they enriched him, but because their youth felt like a mirror he preferred. He dismissed the wisdom that was growing quietly inside him, the earned perspective that can only come from having truly lived, because that wisdom felt like proof that time had passed. And all the while, the gifts of his autumn were sitting unopened in front of him. The clarity he had earned, the confidence that no longer needed the room's approval, the deep relationships that were ready, if he would only tend them, to become the most meaningful of his life. The professional mastery he had spent 2 decades building, ready now to be fully expressed. The ability to mentor, to lead, to see clearly in ways his younger self never could. All of it sitting there, waiting. While Richard stood at the window looking backward, I sat with Richard at his 50th birthday. He was quiet in a way I had not seen before. I asked him what he was thinking. He looked at his hands and said, "I spent my 40s trying to get back to my 20s, and now I am almost 60, and I have neither. I do not have the energy of 25, and I wasted the power of 45 pretending I did." That sentence has never left me. I wasted the power of 45, pretending I did, because that is what fighting your season costs you. It does not freeze time, it does not slow the clock. It simply ensures that while the clock keeps ticking, you are not present in the room. Now I want to say 3 things, clearly, with everything I have. First, find the gift inside your current season. Whatever decade you're in right now, something is available to you in this season that was not available before and will not be available in the same way again. The clarity of youth, the power of midlife, the wisdom of later years, the deep stillness of the final chapters. Stop looking at what the season has taken from you and ask with genuine curiosity, what has this season given me that I have not yet unwrapped? That question will change the texture of your mornings. Second, what you plant now, you harvest later. A garden does not produce its fruit in the same moment the seed is placed in the ground. There is a gap, a season of invisible growth where nothing seems to be happening and everything is actually happening beneath the surface. The choices you make in this season, the relationships you tend, the skills you build, the character you shape, are seeds going into soil. You may not see the harvest for years, but the planting must happen now, in the season you are actually in, or the harvest will never come. Stop waiting for the right season to plant. This is the right season. It is the only season you have. Third, stop comparing your autumn to someone else's summer. This may be the quietest poison of our age. We look at people younger than ourselves and see energy and options and a particular radiance, and we feel the shadow of our own season by comparison. But you are not in the same story as that person. You are not in the same chapter. They have gifts you have lost and burdens you have already survived. And you have gifts they have not yet earned and wisdom they cannot yet imagine. Your autumn is not a lesser summer. It is something entirely different, something the summer cannot be, no matter how bright it burns. I am 86 years old, and I am sitting in a garden that I have planted and tended and watched die and bloom again 53 times, and I can tell you without hesitation, every season was necessary. Every season was beautiful in the way that is specific to that season alone. And the seasons I regret most are not the hard ones. They are the ones I spent wishing I was somewhere else in time. You are exactly where the clock has placed you, not behind, not too late, not too old and not too young. Exactly where you are, and where you are has a gift in it, one that belongs only to this moment, this season, this chapter of the only life you will ever live. Find it, unwrap it, use it, before the season turns, before the leaves fall again, before the window closes. The garden is yours. Tend it now, in the season you are actually in.